All right, we're back to live. Thank you guys for bearing with us. And we've got Annie Lalla here via Skype. So you'll be hearing her disembodied voice, but she's here with us.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in the most exciting conversation I'm going to be having on true love today with two of my best friends in the whole world. A lot of what I've learned about love has come from these two people. These are the two people that Eben and I call up when shit gets hectic. And I literally think they're like in the top reigning masters on the planet of speaking about how to find your partner, what to do once you're in partnership. And I'm just so excited for them to come here and teach us what they've got and tell us the latest cutting edge technology. So I'm going to introduce Jennifer and Bryan right now. Firstly, I just want to tell you about Jennifer. Besides being one of my bestest girlfriends in the world, she represents, for me, the fierce stand that I channel when I think about fighting for true love with clients, with my partner, when I'm losing faith. She just channels warrior energy for me. And Bryan, he represents this infinite, open-hearted availability for any part of myself that happens to be coming forward. Mm-hmm. So to interact with Bryan, I once said, is to look into his eyes, is to fall in love with all your future and past selves. So you can just get a sense of what an epic heart he has. And their love affair, I don't say this lightly, I don't see many couples who are in an epic love affair, but these guys are, and they're inspiring to me. And I just love you guys, and I can't wait to hear what's your latest stuff, because I want to learn and implement in my life. So tell us what you're up to telling us about today.
Well, one thing, as we were talking about this conversation with you, and like, what's the most poignant, high value thing that we could uncover and reveal for both couples, people who are in love, and people who are single and looking to be in love. And the phrase kept ringing in our ears of, I'm going to be single for a while because I have to work on myself first. And then once that work is complete, then I'll be ready for a relationship. And that myth just sprouted this whole slew of ideas of, what are the sort of the three myths of what people think that you need to do before a relationship, but you actually don't need to do them before. And then what are the three ways actually you need to do to prepare for an epic relationship? And then, we'll also talk about probably the hardest question, I think, in relationship to answer, which is the person I'm with the one? Is this the one for me? And I think we can actually put that one to bed once and for all. So that's what we have in store, and I'm really excited to share the inner workings of what has made my life with Jennifer just so amazing and so fortunate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the end, just stay tuned for the end, because one is that we're going to give you a special gift for all of you guys that are on this webinar. But two, we're going to open the line, and I can't imagine a better threesome of Annie, Lalla, Bryan, and I laser guiding you through whatever issue is just really top of mind for you, the one that's most persistent in your relationship. And then, if you will, ask us a question and allow us to help rewrite your whole relationship DNA, or at least so far as we can in the span that we've got you on the line. So stay tuned to the end to both get access to a special gift we've got and to be able to ask us some questions, whether it's about what we covered or even just where your heart is, where love is in your life. So we'll be there for you at the end.
And stay till the end, because I'm giving away a $300 program that's called How to Get More Love and Better Sex, and I'd love to give it to you all. So
that would be amazing.
Who doesn't want more love and better sex? That's awesome. Yeah.
With Eben as your man, you've got somebody teaching you really well how to title a course. That sounds so juicy. I can't wait. I want a copy. Can I get one?
Totally.
Only if we stay. You have to stay to the end, though. Dave.
I have to stay to the end. Yeah. Okay, I think I can handle staying to the end.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive in, shall we? So we, when Annie and Bryan and I came together, we realized that there's some myths around what most people think needs to happen as they're preparing for a relationship. And looking at some of your surveys, I know some of you on this call are are in between relationships, are single right now. And so we thought we would dive into like, how do you actually prepare to be ready for the relationship, and not just ready for an ordinary relationship, but how do you prepare for a truly evolutionary or extraordinary relationship? And, you know, here was the first myth, which happens to be a pet peeve of mine, that I hear everywhere. I hear counselors and coaches telling you this is what to do to prepare. And it's really that quintessential request, which is about making the list. Right? Making that infamous list of the qualities that you want your partner to have. Really, it's a list that has you evaluating, you know, each person you meet as a potential future mate, future husband, future wife, future parent of your child. And, you know, when you begin your relationship this way, it sounds like a really sound thing to do, that, you know, evaluating, just really diving deep into what it is, what qualities that you want your partner to have. And, you know, you're trying to figure out if a relationship is going to work out. You want to look at how well your partner meets your needs in the important areas of your life. You know, are they successful enough? Are they sensitive enough? Are they going to be caring enough? Are they sexy enough? Are they spiritual enough? Are they smart enough? And all of this sounds like a great thing to do, because of course, you know, you're in a relationship, and an ordinary relationship is about getting your needs met. And hold on one moment. I'm hearing that we may need to turn on our video. Great. Oh, sorry about that. Great. So we're trying to make our needs met, and you're wanting to make sure that your partner measures up, and that measuring up is an important prerequisite to a fulfilling relationship. And so it's the relationship begins and ends with, how do I get my needs met from this person? And most relationship processes and experts and therapies are all about, how do we better get our needs met? Yeah. Right. And so all of the coaching that you get is, God, okay, you have these needs. You know, here are the ones he's meeting. Here's the one he's not. So let me coach you on how to get those better met. And let's coach you on evaluating better the partner you have to begin with, so that, you know, you're picking the one that's going to be best suited to meet those needs. And so, not to mention, every time you're in a failed relationship, anytime a relationship ends, which 99% of all relationships that end badly, right? Every time, then you just add to the list. Oh, well, geez, you know, this relationship didn't work out because they were, you know, they lived far away, and they had to, you know, he was too conceited, and he had thought about money too much. So nobody who lives far away or is too conceited or thinks about money. So that's now, I've added that to my list. This is the don't want list.
Right. And every relationship accumulates the list longer and longer, right? Yeah. And then to the want list, it's like, he lives close, he's got money. It's got to be,
positive.
Guys,
like, what's the cost of this list? Why is it problematic?
Yeah. So, you know, what we want you to do instead, because of how problematic it is to understand what's actually important to you. Instead of creating a list of the qualities that they have, right? Maybe they're smart, maybe they're sexy, maybe they're sensitive. Instead, you're listing what you value. Because in an extraordinary relationship, you're evaluating that, and you're using the relationship as a crucible for your growth to express those values. So you're making a list not of the qualities about them, but the values that you'd rather be lonely and alone than sacrifice, right? And the values that are like on your specific line of development that set you in the pursuit of that line of development, not the quality of the person. You know, like when I met Bryan, one of the, you know, if I had said, oh, I want him to be smart and open-minded, I would have been evaluating him against that criteria. And had I evaluated Bryan further, just looking into our love story for a minute, I mean, he would have had 100 counts against him, you know. Yes. He had just gotten out of a divorce. You know, he had a young 4-year-old child. He had lied. He had cheated. And he'd done all the things you're not supposed to do in a relationship. Yeah, that's for sure. I think I would have gotten the smart category, but yeah, you definitely would have gotten smart. But some of the others, not as much. Yeah, and you know, and rather than evaluating him there, you know, what was my line of development at the time? And for me, it was always about expanding my consciousness, being at the cutting edge of my own evolution. And so what I did is, you know, evaluate whether that was what was happening in Bryan's presence. And so not whether is he open-minded or smart, but am I having my consciousness expanded as an experience in the presence of this man. So it's not the quality that he has, it's the experience of the value that I most want to live into. And so I observed it happening versus evaluating him. And when you evaluate your partner, when you do this comparison mindset, what happens is you subtly create an expectation that your ideal partner already exists pre the time that they've tessellated, as you like to say, and alchemized in your love relationship, because that partnership becomes something very, very unique, right? And it, I would say that I didn't exist before I met Bryan. The woman that I am today has a few small similarities, but has basically been built from our relationship. And had I evaluated him based on this list, these lists tend to be superficial qualities rather than lines of development of our values, then I, like so many people that we know and coach, just sit there and say, nope, they don't meet the list, they don't meet the list. Yeah. And then you just pass yourself by your subtle no to love. Right. And as you're knowing that person, you're knowing love, and you're not beginning that beginner's mind, that exploration of what could happen if you were to come together, and how can your values be actually expressed. So this myth about creating the list, that quintessential list of all the qualities is one I want to bust, and instead have you prepare for love by writing the list of the values that are in your line of development that you want to be experiencing, and be looking for what has those be present in your life.
Oh, Jennifer, I love that. That's brilliant. The one thing I wanted to add there is
please.
I'm one of those weird coaches that asks them to write the list, but it's not of qualities and values. It's how they want to feel in the relationship.
Yes.
I can see it's similar to what you're saying.
It is.
How do I feel alive? Do I feel expanded? Do I feel my consciousness raising? And I love that you're clarifying it with your values, but I'd like to add in that keep track of what you want to feel when you're with your future partner. And that's what you're looking for, is that feeling instead of a list of qualities. Love that.
There's something I wanted to add here, because it's, if you just make a list of values, you'll list all of the values that everybody wants, right? Freedom and devotion and fun and excitement and profundity and expansion and growth and everything positive. The ones that really we want you to focus on are the ones that are so important to you that you'd actually rather be lonely and alone than go without
it.
Because what you do is you're like, oh, I have a value on truth and honesty and transparency, and then you totally sell that value out down the river the first time that he or she lies to you, and you catch them and they're like, well, I can forgive it. But really what you're saying is, well, I can sell out a little bit on that value rather than being alone. And then you just accumulate over time. You keep selling out these values, and they grow and grow and grow. And then you realize that you've sacrificed essentially your happiness in order to not be alone. And then you're like, this isn't working for me. And then you make a new list and start it all over. So if you really come down to like the 1, 2, or 3 values that are right at the top, that if you can't have this thing, it's fine. You would not settle. You'd not be with anyone rather than sell these things out. And that will allow you to find a partner who actually can align with you on that value and be your co-creator of the manifestation of that value in your life. And that is very, very different than evaluating the qualities of the person.
Yeah, notice the qualities are about them, and these values, these experiences, these things you want to be feeling is something that's known by you, right? You can feel what you're feeling in their presence. You can experience those values, and they're inside of yourself, that experience, not evaluating and analyzing and comparing them. That whole mindset is already kind of a de-evolutionary mindset. It already brings in the judger, the criticizer, the wrong maker.
Striking them off the list.
Striking them off the list,
That's
right? And so all of those little, like, they sound small, but they accumulate. And those subtle little no's to love, those subtle little ways that you close your heart to someone, that you carry that with you into the next interaction, and they accumulate. And then 10 interactions later, if you're dating a lot, right? You've built up such a scab. You've built up such a skepticism about love. You've built up that, nobody has these qualities. And when you have someone that does walk down the street that could be your potential partner, And even if you are experiencing great things around them, you'll end up discounting them, which is what I could have done, in my relationship with Bryan, which I'm so thankful I didn't, because of how extraordinary that I felt in his presence.
Yeah, I want to just point that out, Jennifer. One of the ways I define love, and I like to, Evan taught me to define things at least 7 ways. But,
yes.
You don't fall in love with another person. You fall in love with who you get to be around them, how you feel around them. And so, qualities, you're not looking for a set of roving qualities. You're looking for an experience of aliveness. And you fall in love with the person you feel the most alive around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, absolutely. So the second myth I thought we'd talk about is, this is the kind of thing where if you posted this on Facebook, you'd get hundreds of likes. If you posted, you have to love yourself first before you can love anyone else, you would get all kinds of praise and agreement and likes, and I guess now
props.
on Facebook, props. You can get like all different variety of hearts and smiley faces, but that's ridiculous. That's this whole idea that you have to do this set of loving yourself first and have that be fully in place, and it's this sequence. My own experience is in direct conflict with that, because when I met Jennifer, as she said, I had just come out of a marriage where I had behaved really badly and had a very low self-esteem, particularly low self-esteem around the idea of love. I was very ashamed of how I had behaved and the things I'd done and the kinds of life I'd built for myself. I really hated it. And I had a lot of anger and hatred directed at me. So, when in those years, when you asked me, hey, do you love yourself? I would say, no, absolutely not. But what I did recognize is that the possibility for the future that I saw for me with Jennifer in it was way more exciting than anything I had ever considered prior to that. So it was easy for me to love and commit to her, even though I was not feeling like I loved myself. And so, Jennifer became my partner, not just in my relationship, but my partner for the journey of self-love. And, at first had to even convince me that that was something I wanted, and then helped me along the way. And one of the major breakthroughs I had that allow me to be, sitting here now in front of you and be able to say congruently that I do love myself. One of the main reasons is because I really loved how much I loved Jennifer, and I really loved how complete my caring of her was, and how reverent I am to her and her beauty, her wisdom, her direction, her vision for the future, her way of lifing, her way of kind of, sometimes I say, what you have that shows up in the cockpit of your human, and then what the decisions that you make in response to those experiences that you're having, her decision making. I fell in love with all of that, and I loved the way I loved her. So that became like this little lifeline I could climb on to say, you know what, the way I love Jennifer is pretty good, and like a good person does what I'm doing with Jennifer. And I can actually stand behind that. I can, to use an Annie Lalla expression, I can clap for when I see the movie of the way I'm behaving with her, and I can clap for the kind of thing that the relationship we're starting to form together. And then she helped me clap for myself as a father, in business, as a coach, and all of these different ways that I was as an artist.
She's like a full-on artist now because of her inspiration.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. And in multiple domains, in fact, multiple disciplines. And so it was really my first loving of how I was loving her, my appreciation for the goodness in her, which then she helped me transport back to appreciation and goodness for myself. And so while I think that if you don't love yourself, if there's parts of yourself that you just cannot get right with and you don't love yourself, probably that's going to show up in your relationship, where there's ways of being your partner might have that you might not be tolerant of. But I don't think it matters which you tolerate first. yourself or your partner. The other can follow. Just be on a commitment to whatever is the path of least resistance for yourself to love itself, to being love, to being in love's service, really. Either for yourself, your partner, for other people, whatever's like easiest, go that route, and then use that to also love the other areas, versus waiting first. Anytime you're waiting to love, I think you're making a mistake. You're actually wasting rather than just waiting.
I love that. Never be waiting for love. So, Bryan, it sounds like you're saying that being in a relationship, at least for you, and what you're encouraging us to do is relationship love inspires you to not just love them, but to love yourself. And that's what's available in relationship.
Yeah, and use the technology of relationship in order to be loved in places that you've been unable your whole life to even look at, let alone love. I mean, for most of us, we grow up with our disenfranchised parts, our shadows. And I often say that we reserve both the best of us and the worst of us to show to our partners. And they lovingly get a window in to really the most beautiful parts of us and some of the most beastly parts of us. And because they love us, our partners love us, they are able to shed that love on parts of us that we can't even look at. And that is so liberating and healing. And trying to do that on your own is the much, much harder road. I'm not saying it isn't possible. But what we are saying is, if you think you have to do that before you can open yourself to love, realize love and a relationship itself is designed for that particular healing. It's designed to be, as he said, what'd you say, the rope?
Yeah, the lifeline.
The lifeline up the lifeline to that place in you. So
it's like saying you have to be healed before going to the doctor or something.
Yeah. Also,
it's a good one.
Love, the first love you ever feel happens in relationship, ideally with your mother and your father. Yeah. And so it's born in relationship and it's broken in relationship. And so it can only be healed in the context of relationship.
Right.
Right. So
I also have
a lot of this. Yeah.
I also have just for anyone who has like awareness that you don't love yourself as much as you'd want or completely, and you want to love yourself more. I just have a tip for you, which is what I learned in this relationship. When it seems hard to love yourself, it's because the needy, small, depraved part of you that is feeling like it isn't lovable, that you think that's the one that has to do all the loving of itself, and it just isn't capable. But that's not the part of you that has to do the loving. The part of you that has to do the loving when we say love yourself is the part of you that's an epic friend, that's been there for people when they most need it, that is in your best relationship moment when your partner felt really loved by you. It was that your expert loving, the part of you that knows how to do that. So loving yourself is just turning that expert lover that's already in you, turning it towards the depraved small one and giving them a break. And that's so that can also expedient the process.
Yeah. I got one more hack there.
Dude.
Often people struggle with not loving themselves, but they think they're good at loving others.
Yeah.
Love's in the space between you and the other person.
Yeah.
If you can love, then you're available to that love. It's like love is existing between you two, and it goes bi-directionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can get to, I love her, then if you can frame that the love is actually going in both directions, it just means love is in the space between us, and you can own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the blur between coming from you and going towards you, it becomes kind of immaterial. It's that there is love flowing is the point. And identifying who gets it, like, I'm the one loving Bryan. No, Bryan's the one loving me. I mean, this is kind of a silly argument.
I'll tell you what, 10 minutes from now we'll switch.
Exactly. So just realize that relationship really is that crucible for healing that love. And if any of you are preparing for love and thinking that you're not fit for it because you don't love yourself fully, I just want to rest assured and just assure you that the path towards having that is inside of the relationship, not prior to it. So that was our second myth that we want to bust around how to prepare for a relationship. So realize the love is in it.
Super cheesy hack here.
Oh, good. Say it.
Whenever you breathe beside your partner, even if you're angry or you're sad, and you're just right beside them, sitting on a chair or lying on the bed, and you're breathing, my cheesy hack is when I breathe in, I go, so I breathe out and I go, I love them. That one's easier for me. And then when I breathe in, I imagine they love me.
Yeah.
I love them. They love me. I know it sounds cheesy, but if you try this, it does miracles.
Oh, that, spontaneously in the first couple of years of my relationship with Jennifer, the quality of my life had so improved based on, adding her view and way of perceiving life to mine. And it just changed my experience so much. I caught myself unconsciously saying, thank you, Jennifer, in my inhales and exhales. It's like, just thank you, Jennifer, just like imagine. And once I heard myself doing that, I started doing it deliberately just to continue. And so as a similar practice, to I love you, she loves me, I just say, thank you, like gratitude for that, even the hard stuff, like the fact that we get to be partnered and I get this epic, being to figure out life with, is such a privilege, which I guess is kind of a segue.
Well, interestingly, I did something very similar in my relationship with Bryan, and we sometimes are a little cute and silly. We sometimes talk about ourselves in the third person.
Yes, we do.
And so I'll say, she loves him. And I'll say, she loves him. And I would say that all the time, just in the middle of the day, randomly, she loves him. She loves him.
She loves him, yeah.
And I've heard it.
It was a breakthrough. Yeah, she loves him. And I would just do this just because, not for any particular thing that he did for me, just because it was welling up in me and I just wanted to express it into that space between. And it was a real breakthrough for me around healing this. I need to be loved. I need to love myself. When I stopped saying, she loves him, and I started saying, he loves me. He loves me. He loves me. And so now inside my head and sometimes out loud, I'll go, he loves me. And so that was my really feeling both the energy moving in both directions, where I was finally able to also receive it and say, oh, wow, I am loved. I am loved and I am lovable. And so that self-love came through that. And those little instinctual voices were going about unearthing that for us and showing us where we were at around our own self-love. So that's really like the second myth and how to prepare. It's just realize that love is something you figure out. Self-love is something you figure out within the crucible of your relationship. So let's do the third.
Yeah, third myth.
Yeah. So here's a fun one. The first, you have to work out all your mommy and daddy issues, right? All of your issues, right? You've got all these issues.
Which is all your issues.
Which is basically all your issues. Yeah, because they all started then. I mean, even if they look different now and they wear different costumes, most of the core wounds that you have around, love and being loved and feeling like you have a right to exist and to need and be a sovereign being, all of that got started from the very, very early childhood days when you were forming your relationship to reality. And in an ordinary relationship, you expect your partner to learn your triggers and your sensitivities. And if they're really good at it and they're really good at loving, they stay clear of them and effectively caretake your little wounded inner child, right? And so while no one wants to partner to play mommy or daddy all the time, one way that that you're being loved in this kind of ordinary relationship is that your partner takes care not to do the things that they know are going to bother you and make you uncomfortable. And like you give them a lot of gold stars when they do that. Like, honey, that triggers me. So will you work on not doing that thing that triggers me?
Yeah, no, I shouldn't do it. I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
Oh, I love you more when you don't trigger me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you loved me, you wouldn't trigger me.
Yeah, and in an ordinary relationship, that like this makes so much sense. Like, of course, you want to learn the triggers and steer clear of them, and like caretake their wounded inner child, and like all of this sounds like what every self-help book and relationship book will tell you about how to handle relationship. And there's even a lot of things to help you get good at that. And they say even don't marry someone with mommy and daddy issues. Who do we hear say this? Because all that is going to become your problem. Yeah. So I'm not really eligible or fit for relationship unless I, clear that stuff out.
Yeah. There's a well-known teacher. I don't want to say his name because it's embarrassing, but there's a well-known teacher literally instructing hundreds of people that they should not get into a relationship with any person who has unresolved issues with their parents.
Yeah. That leaves like no one left.
Leaders are single then?
In fact, they are. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. This person is single. Right. So then what are you doing instead? Right. And really it's understanding this mindset that you're creating your whole experience, because this is impossible. This resolving all your issues, resolving all your mommy daddy issues, before you enter into your relationship so that you're fit. These issues don't tend to even surface until the second or third year of a relationship, right? I mean, some of them may surface earlier.
That's when the attachment configuration rises.
Absolutely.
They become your new attachment figure.
Yeah, absolutely. And as those things arise, there's like seemingly infinite layers of them. You know, this is why people have the experience in a relationship of these repetitive patterns that have like really worked this groove over and over and over and again. And partly because the groove started when they were 3 or 2 or in utero. But then they're surfacing when you've gone past that honeymoon sweet stage and you're really further entrenched in the relationship and you're really allowing both the good and the bad out in more equal measure. And so the idea is that it isn't that you have to resolve these before you're in the relationship. You don't have to know what your issues are. You just have to know that you're responsible for creating that experience, not your partner. Right? So if something is going wrong in the relationship, you have to look inward, or you're fooling yourself, right? If you continue to look outward, you'll keep regrooving and inflicting these childhood wounds on yourself. And so one of the kind of the hacks or things that we recommend is, if you notice you're yelling or losing your temper or crying or punishing yourself or your partner, all of that, 100% of it is your historical pain that you haven't dealt with. And I know how badly you want to say, no, wait a minute, my partner lied, he cheated, he did these things to me, he did that one thing that he knows triggers me, he left the garbage out and he didn't put it, away, God, whatever it is that you're losing yourself around, you're lying, you're yelling, you're losing your control, all of that is historical pain. And when you're free of your historical pain and your partner does something like that, right? So if they were to do something like that and you didn't have historical pain around that particular wound, then your attitude around that thing would be creativity and possibility and being more positive. Oh, I have an idea. Hey, I have a way that I want this to work out. Mm-hmm. We can make this better. If I wasn't triggered by him not taking out the garbage, then if he didn't, I wouldn't be yelling and screaming and saying that he doesn't love me because he's not doing this thing for me. I would be saying, wow, let's get creative about how we can make this better. Should I leave you a note, or, maybe we have the maid do it, or how about we figure out, some other way to signal, we would get creative.
What do you think's causing this behavior that, the behavior's not really working for me? Is it working for you? Because if it isn't, then we should work together on figuring out how to change it. Like, mm-hmm. That's how a present day experience would be handled, when it's not informed by like the projection of, you're doing this thing, which is just like what my mom did to me. And I know how this ends, which is that I'm miserable and alone, and you're going to make me miserable alone unless I can control you and change you now.
You mentioned the mother thing. I think when people lose their temper, cry, get overwhelmed, triggered, act in a way that they don't feel proud of, what's actually happening is they're actually regressing back to a child state, because none of us are proud of how we act in those moments.
Of course.
And what you're asking, it sounds like, when you say get free of the historical pain, is find technologies, which I'm sure you guys know and teach, of how to get back to the present moment, from regressed child, I can't handle it state, to grown up, I totally can survive this. How can I create possibility in the face of this impasse? And I so love that you're asking us to take responsibility for that instead of our partner. And the distinction here is, those technologies can come once you're in the relationship. You don't have to do all that work first. There's only one piece that we really think you should have before you start, which is the thing Jennifer said about just knowing that when there's a problem, you're going to look at the mirror instead of at your partner. Yeah. And if you have that, then the rest of the technology can come on later as the stuff surfaces. Yeah,
you don't end up punishing your partner relentlessly for your historical pain, which then triggers their equal but opposite wound on the other side, this hidden symmetry, because most likely you've attracted the partner you've attracted because you each pair up so perfectly on both your biggest hopes and dreams and your biggest fears and wounds. And in that symmetry, if you look, and at any point where you're reacting or responding in a way that's yelling or anger, or punishing or making wrong, all of these kind of externalized reactive behaviors, that it's your signal. Oh, wait a minute, this is not about them. This is about me. I'm creating this experience. They're lovingly playing the role to let me see this historical wound. Mm-hmm. And if you will take that tack, or if you'll look at that mindset and realize, even if you can't in the moment, when you're triggered, it's hard sometimes to bring this up, but after your trigger and when you've relaxed and calmed and your system isn't all the way in your fight and flight mode, if you're able to see that any reaction like that is more about you than about them, then your ability will come online to begin to unwind it. And it's some of what Bryan and I do in our work, in the retreat that we're doing soon, and in the one-on-one coaching, is we help give you a lot of these technologies for how to actually turn to the mirror, see that hidden symmetry, and look for where your complaint is represented reciprocally in you as a disowned part of yourself, and how do we re-enfranchise that part. And not only that, but we look at your history and see how it's actually served you, and what the drawbacks would have been had you not actually had that response and that reaction. And in so doing some of that work, rather than hoisting, the shit sandwich, as we sometimes say, the blame, and wounding and putting your partner's picture as the culprit, as the cause, you're putting the cause where it deserves to be, which is right in your wounding. And there you guys can create a relationship where you're reparenting yourself, and then your partner's the playmate for your healthy child instead of the caretaker of your wounded child. And as you start reparenting and creating the playmate for your healthy child, this is when you get out of that phase of wrong making and trigger and being run by your wounds. And so this is a really important thing to do. So you don't need to have all of these things solved before the relationship, but what you do need to do is realize that any trigger is more about you than your partner, to do 180, to look in the mirror and see how you're creating your historical pain is helping to create that experience.
Now, this doesn't mean, by the way, that the way to handle it when your partner is projecting on you is to tell them that they need to look in the mirror.
Right.
It's not, you actually don't.
It's not meant to be weaponized.
You don't get that permission. Unfortunately, the only one who can look in the mirror is you. It's up to your partner whether they're going to do that or not. And anytime you think that, like, oh, well, they are not doing the thing where they are looking at themselves, just notice that you are already doing the they thing instead of the me thing, instead of actually looking at the mirror.
Yeah, you can even make it a game. I have this competition with Evan where it's like whoever, we call it coming back from separation to togetherness, which is looking at the mirror. Whoever looks at the mirror first in the relationship game wins.
Yeah.
Doesn't lose.
Yeah.
They're the cool, smart, attentive, figuring it out person. And so you can almost turn it into a competition instead of whose fault it is. It's like who came back to where they could take responsibility first is the cool one.
Yeah, that's neat. I love it.
Yeah, and you want to lift those kind of weights in your relationship. You want to build those muscles, because those muscles are what creates an extraordinary relationship versus an ordinary one. And in an ordinary relationship, you're each casting blame and rutting into those patterns. And in an extraordinary one, you're actually unwinding those patterns at their source. And when you unwind them all the way back at their source, they don't resurface over and over again. And so it's an opportunity for us to really up-level how we do love, how we evolve love with one another. And this kind of 180-degree kind of look, anytime you're acting out of trigger, is a really important one to be in deep consideration of. So, you might look at the last couple times that you've been responding that way, triggered. I mean, even if you just wrote down the very last one you had, you know, what's the last time you either yelled or lost your control or started lashing out in some way with blame, or even punishing your partner with dissociating and running away or freezing. These are all patterns that are trigger patterns. And then just asking yourself, if you looked in the mirror and deleted them from the story, realizing that it isn't about them, you know, what's left for you to see as you look in that mirror. And, you know, and then lovingly, gently reparent that young child that's just acting out. You know, this young child is just stunted his growth or her growth at that point in time.
Yeah, and I think it puts us into a paradox. I just want to make clear,
Yeah.
you know, if someone's feeling these feelings, there's two things going on. They need to first honor that the feeling of rage, anger, blame, shame is coming up, and listen to it instead of it being caused by the other partner. It's their feeling in their body, just like when you have to pee, it's in your body, and honor it. So that feeling was real when you were young, and something happened to you probably that shouldn't have happened, that had you feel hurt and abandoned and betrayed and trespassed. So you want to honor that feeling and deconflate it from it being caused by your partner and that they're wrong. It's very strange that we could actually be upset and hurt and not have a culpable blamer. But once you deconflate it, like, you know, when the rain messes your hair on the way to the wedding, there's no one to blame, but you're still hurt and upset.
Yeah.
You can try to relate to your partner that way.
You know, feelings, emotions have three parts, and I think people only experience them as one thing.
Yeah.
And you're talking about conflating, like, which is the idea of having these parts all arrive as one mush. And some of the parts are completely true, and some are completely false. And so it's confusing until you can parse them. But when an emotion arrives, there's the physical sensation, the actual emotion in your body, like you were saying, which is the true part. It's true that that's occurring for you and that it's demanding that much of your attention because it needs to, because something needs your attention. That's true. The next thing that comes is why we think we are feeling that way.
Story about the emotion.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that is arriving at a point when we're triggered where our executive function or our logicking, our ability to troubleshoot is at our biological low. Like it's the state at which we are least able to problem solve. And
the stupidest.
Yeah, we're totally dumb. So the why that we're feeling that way is almost certainly false.
Yeah.
And
or at least not the whole story.
Yeah.
At the very least.
It's not
at its
true.
best.
It's not true, right?
Yeah.
It's not trustable.
Yeah.
You shouldn't take actions on that and expect those actions to result in anything else but more pain.
Yeah.
And the third thing that arrives, which is equally untrustable, is what we think we need to do about it. What will remedy that? And this is where the idea of vengeance or revenge comes in. This is where we act out and, we slam the door in our partner's face and just so we hope that they could open up again and come towards us, or we hang up on it, whatever. This is where we do all that stupid stuff because we're feeling the feeling, which is true. We have the false thing coming, which is what is creating the feeling. And we have the second false thing, which is what's going to fix it. And so the discipline of trusting your heart, trusting what you feel, but distrusting what you think at the same time is an epic relationship skill.
Yeah, one little hack I have around that, I actually think that the feeling, which is a matrix of sensations in the body, just like having to pee or an itch, and then the story about the sensations, which is your meaning-making story, blame, shame, justification narrative, is an actual custom-built, in the moment, disassociation strategy to not feel that feeling that was so terrifying when you were young and right now. And so you opt out of the feeling sense. See, if you actually felt the feeling in your body, the sick, nausea, tension in your chest, to completion, it would give you a gem of wisdom and your next development step in life. But we don't. We can't feel it. It was too terrifying. So we disassociate into the story about the feeling and what we have to do to fix that feeling. And we never get the feeling cycle complete and healed.
That's brilliant.
Oh, I love this. We just reading the spiritual texts on what they call bardo states. And it talks about both the...
Just tell them like post-death.
Yeah, yeah, the agony and ecstasy that one experiences post-death, and there is lore about the bardo being the moment in time where you relive your life, and you relive your life by feeling the impact of every incident in your life, both positive and negative, and that both the agony and the ecstasy of feeling that so fully, that ripple of the whole impact, and in that moment that you feel it all the way fully, you integrate as a human being. You get to fully arrive into the kind of the next stage of consciousness by not turning away from and not following every thought all the way through, but it's like going through your life and taking every incident and following it all the way through so that you can experience that ecstatic kind of gem. So like this is really deep work that we're talking about here, not just what a couple relationship experts
don't wait till you're dead to do this.
Don't wait till you're dead. Create that bardo state in your waking life where you're willing to feel both the ecstatic bliss and the agonizing pain of what you're creating in your life. Allow that to run through your body and arrive at the gem that it's meant to deliver. I mean, this is why it grabs your attention and creates the level of pain that it does.
And what I've noticed with you, Jennifer and Bryan, you guys teach me, and I've seen you teach it excellently, how to actually do that, because there's a lot of minute details that we can't get into now, but there's a whole art and science to feeling a feeling to completion and dealing with the agony and not opting out while feeling safe. And that's something that if anyone gets a chance to talk to them about that.
We have a real advantage in teaching that, actually, because Jennifer, through many practices, including she's very advanced in 8 forms of martial arts. She very deliberately cultivated that ability to hold sensation, to be with. So she has all of this kind of ninja mastery in this area, and I was really a neophyte when we got together. I really was not clear on what I was feeling at all, or whether I was having a feeling. And we even had arguments where I would say I just wasn't feeling whatever she thought I was feeling, which everybody in the room was obvious I was feeling that, except for me. I didn't know. So
wow, you're a little angry with me right now. It's like, no,
I've never been angry ever.
Never been angry.
Just ask my mom; she knows. I've never been angry my whole life, not once. We have both the perspective of the student and the master in this area of feeling, and of being present for your feelings, which the more you're doing that, the less you're projecting, and the more you can do all this work that you think you have to do before relationships in the relationship and have it work out awesome.
Yeah.
So we had a big question that we
said we would get to.
Yeah, we said we'd get to, and I think now's the time. Probably the biggest question people have in relationships at that crucial moment. How do you know? How do you know if they're the one? How do I know if this is it? Should I? People. I have a friend texting me right now who is in a really difficult spot in his relationship, and he's like, "Am I being crazy for sticking it out? Or am I being a chicken if I leave? What do I do?"
And the fact that we're fighting, does that mean that we're not right for one another, or do we stick in it? And these questions.
Quintessential question.
Is it compatible? Like maybe we're not
compatible.
Or if I leave, am I just going to recreate the same pattern with the next partner? Like,
okay, so how do we know?
So, do we build it up enough, or should we build it up a little?
No.
I want to know. I want to know the answer.
Well, so we really think that there's one clear question you can ask yourself, and if you ask yourself honestly, then you'll know the answer. And if you bring to mind the picture that you think your partner has of who you are going to become in the future, not the idealized version, but who they really expect you to be. And you kind of imagine the development path that they are predicting you'll be on to its completion. Do you want to become that person? And is that person to you more inspiring than your own vision of who you thought you'd be? And if the answer is yes, then regardless of any other apparent incompatibilities or difficulties or fighting or whatever it is, how hard it is, how fun it is, how good it is, how bad it is. If the answer is yes, you're with the one.
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, I don't care how pleasant it is or sweet.
Maybe that you don't fight,
or the sex is really good,
Yeah,
or I don't, you know, or they're really, really rich, and so you want to make it work, or whatever it is. They're not the one. And it's because every time, you know, even if you're the most independent-hearted person, the most resilient emotional person, you still are constantly going to want to be making your partner happy. And so everything that you do that's closer to the direction of who your partner imagines you'll be is going to make them happier. And everything that you do which is straying from the path that your partner thinks you could be or even should be, they're going to be irritated with. In fact, at any time, you know, Jennifer mentioned earlier, like being upset about me not taking out the garbage or whatever. Anytime I do something which is upsetting to her, it's because she has an idea of a version of me that has that thing handled. And my current behavior isn't consistent with that. So if I don't want to hurry up and be that future version, then I'm either going to have to make myself smaller in order to fit inside her view of me. And I'm going to feel like I give myself up to be in the relationship because I'm not being seen. So I'm literally like amputating possibilities.
Which we hear all the time, the whole adage, I lose myself in my relationship. I feel like I have to bring less of me rather than all of me to my relationship, which could be familiar to many of you listening.
Yeah. Or I'm going to be constantly an irritation to her because as I strive in the direction I'm going, I just won't feel her support in that direction, and she'll be upset or nagging or irritated with me continually about things I actually have no intention of changing, and that the only reason I would change was to make her happy, which isn't a good enough reason in the long run to do the hardest work of reforming yourself into a new version. So
I just want to get this straight. So your partner shapes you into the most extraordinary version of yourself that you couldn't imagine, but they do. And they shape you by representing their needs, wants, and desires. That shapes you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that builds the picture that you have of what this future version of you that they see you becoming. And it's hidden and on the surface. It's both the things that they say that are inspiring and loving about who they see you to be, and it's hidden in their complaints of you. Like and when they and their needs and desires that you may or may not be meeting, because they wouldn't have those complaints if they didn't believe that you could be the person that could meet them and could become that version. So you can actually build, if you will, the model of who they see you to become by listing both the things they say positively about you and the things they complain about. And if when you look at each complaint and go, oh, they're complaining, but what they'd actually like to see is this inspiring behavior. You know, if it's not taking out the trash, which is a silly example, then it would be, oh, maybe it's that she wants me to care and have the environment be sacred and for me to be more conscious of the environment I'm in so that it's clean and clear and an accurate reflection of my consciousness. Got it. That's the man she wants me to be. That's why she wants the trash taken out. Maybe she's complaining because I'm breaking promises. Well, she sees me to be the kind of man that stands in integrity. Is that the man I want to be? Am I inspired to become that man? Do I believe that man is a greater man than I would be on my own, given my own intuitions and visions? Because as I said earlier, we have the most limited sense of self. We have all of our own baggage. We can't see ourselves in that greatness as easily as our partner can, because they're not weighed down by our particular woundings and our limitations. They don't have any of those. They have their own, but they don't have ours.
Got it. Let me just ask you something. So if in their complaints, it sounds like there's smuggled, I love you, I see you big, you can do better than this, I know it, I believe in you. That's smuggled in behiund the complaint.
It is.
Decode it.
Yeah. Let me give you a classic example.
Right.
So we have clients that are having this issue right now. You know, his vision for himself is that he's a very, very successful, you know, rich, executive for a startup. And it is true that he's executive for a startup, but he's not very, very successful and rich yet. And kind of complaints that his wife has for him are like, you're not spending enough time with the family, you're not ever present, you're not here. And so he initially was hearing that as she has this suppressed vision, like, you're not going to be that successful, you're just going to be kind of like a good husband, which for him is lesser than like a hugely successful guy. But when they started to dialogue about it and say, well, you know, tell me more about this vision of who you really think I can become and why is it inspiring to you? It turned out that she believed that he could be very successful financially without sacrificing his values of time with his loved ones, because he was more in command of time and space and his and of his ability to manifest, so he could do it in a reasonable way, and that he was creating not just money for money's sake, but creating this value for the future that he sees for the world, which includes a more positive relationship in families. And so it was actually, once he got it, it was a much grander vision than he initially was hearing through her complaint. And so once he got that, then he started to pay attention to like, okay, how can I become the man who has both, who does these? And now her complaints of, will you spend more time with me, can be recoded as inspirational messages of, you know, here are ways I think that you're ready for an upgrade.
Or here are ways you're seeing me maybe sacrificing myself in service to money, when what I really want is to have this harmonious balance between these things in my life. And of course he wants to be that man. Yeah. You know, so if you're courageous, and you're in a relationship, or even if you think about the last relationship you're in and write down maybe the top 2 or 3 complaints that your partner had about you. If you're courageous, we'd love for you to actually interview your partner about that complaint and see what is this future vision that they actually see when they're not in the middle of the complaining. Like, oh, okay, got it. You want me to be a good husband and spend my time. Well, what does that mean? And tell me what you see. And when you listen to what that vision is, if you'll take each of the complaints and build for you this picture of the man or woman they want you to be, see if when you read that, when you look at that, when you take that in, whether that is an inspiring thing that you would surrender your life to this person to guide you towards. And that's when you know you have the one, when you would surrender your own vision of yourself, your own limited version of it, for theirs.
Yeah, because my vision for me is fraught with overcompensating for my insecurities. It's fraught with my own limiting beliefs about what I can and can't do, and trying to prove things to people and things to myself. And Jennifer's vision for me doesn't have any of that garbage in it. It's very, very clean. So what I noticed over time is it started to be more trustable than mine. That's when I knew I had the one. She said it's a courageous question to ask. Part of why that is because the answer could be that you're not inspired, in which case we actually say this is not the one. A couple ways that could be, your partner couldn't see all of you. It's possible that your partner doesn't see your true beauty and your true capability, and so therefore that true beauty and capability will not be nourished in the partnership. It's also possible that your partner doesn't have the finesse, granularity, or fidelity in the areas that are most important to you in order to really see the nuance of who you could be. You know, that, like, I remember when there was a woman who's very successful in business, and she was with a man who kind of didn't really care for her business and was just thinking, yeah, you're going to be successful, but he couldn't see in depth who she was. So if those are the case, then this isn't the one for you. And have the courage to ask, because if it's not the one for you, you don't want to be on the wrong train.
Yeah, I mean, really, what I'm hearing you guys say is, if your partner makes a complaint or request or desire for you, you have to ask yourself, if complying with this complaint, does it make me a more extraordinary, inspiring version of myself?
Yes.
And if so, I'm going to see the complaint as a commitment to my greatness. And if not, this person is shrinking me, and it's not a match.
It's not a match. Yeah, it's not the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have to choose wisely. You have to choose the person whose future vision that they have in their mind's eye is the one that you would surrender to become. And in asking that, and when you look at their complaints and look at what they see, that is something that you would use as your compass. That's how you know. It's not how much fighting you're doing or not doing. It's not how great, like we said, no, it's not how great the sex is. It's not how many hobbies you share in common. It really is this. You could be in a relationship that might be fraught with difficulty, but if you have that willingness to surrender into that, then it's our prediction that you have found the one that's worth every ounce of that, because everything you go through in the relationship is in service to you being on that path and reaching that pinnacle, so that you're at the very cutting edge of your evolution with this person, which isn't just the status quo, right? So
I've watched you guys literally fall exponentially more in love, not just with each other, but with yourselves, with each demand and drama and fight that you guys have gone through. I've literally watched and witnessed you exponentially grow into versions of yourselves that, like, I couldn't even dream it for Bryan what Jennifer dreamed.
Yeah.
I couldn't even dream with Jennifer what Bryan dreamed. And they both surpassed even the dreams I think each other had.
Yeah. So we have to keep re-upping.
This is the magic of being around couples who are committed to each other's exponential growth, even when there's fights, drama, and complaints. And one of the things I've learned most from you guys is just being in the energy and the field and the vicinity of you guys and other couples I know that are in love. There's a magical, priceless quality to that that can't come from reading a book or watching a seminar or just listening. Just being around you and watching you guys love each other has this kind of transmissive brilliance, which I just want to thank you for and how it's impacted my life. And I know that there's going to be an opportunity coming up soon where you guys are going to be presenting in much more detail these ideas in a retreat that I'm so excited to be going to. Yes, I'm coming for sure. I'm trying to bring my husband and we're going to, guest teach. But tell me a little bit, Bryan and Jennifer, about this retreat that you're doing that I'm going to be attending, just to give them a little hint.
Well, this is 8 years in the making. This
is a dream we've had for years, as we've both formally and informally been helping couples with their lives. And it's something that I have always dreamed of doing. I think Bryan as well. But we've decided to do a really intensive 3.5-day private retreat at an epically beautiful location where the surroundings in and of themselves are an experience. And it's where we can do the things that we can't do with you passively listening. We actually need to interact with you and actually climb into your whole world and experience and help act as both translators and guides for you to help you rewrite your relationship DNA and further embody this ideal love story that we know is inside you. And that kind of work requires us to be like surgeons, going in with you and working with you, and with Annie, Lalla as well, and maybe even Eben. You have the dream team really here to help you unwind some of the things that you might not have been able to unwind in months or years or decades. And the problem that we see, Annie, is that there's no education on how to do relationship well. We take school, we learn reading and writing and mathematics and history and all these wonderful subjects. But the thing that we spend all of our life doing, which is interacting with other human beings, for most of us, that's what we spend our lives doing. We spend zero educational time on. But this stuff is learnable. Like learning how to have an evolutionary partnership where your triggers are transcended, where the issues that come up are the sources of your greatest evolution. There are practices and conversations that can be taught. And this interactive laboratory that we're going to create in these 3.5 days together in May is for us to teach you and the practices and the conversations that raise you out of the kind of the muck, right? Where you're going to witness both yourself and your partner really setting you up and raising your conversations so that you're not just having kind of the normal, ordinary relationship where it's about getting your needs met, which is where most relationships and therapists and counselors begin and end. This is really to raise and evolve love for you and the planet and your partner to set And we'll take you through a daily guide to make any relationship extraordinary and evolutionary during this 3 days. And it's a travesty to us that there's no education, but it is learnable. And we do have practices and conversations that we want to take you through. And then we want to guide you one-on-one in front of the room as we're working with you with what it is that's actually holding you where you are, which we can't do, again, through, we can teach you concepts. We can teach you ideas in a webinar, but we can't laser in like surgeons and really help you kind of sew up the wound and start on another path.
Yeah, and having these two guys custom craft and tailor their intelligence and brilliance and all the information they've learned from their own experience to your unique situation, it's just a priceless experience.
Yeah.
And I know you guys told me that you were going to offer my people a 30-minute call.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us that you're going to deep dive into their own life and help them, figure out what's going on in their own relationship. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So we're going to do a 30-minute Evolving Love deep dive session for you guys. And let me go ahead and put the link up. Just a moment. Let me get my technology going because I want you to see. There it is. Okay, great. So on your screen, to the right, you're going to see the kind of schedule a call where it just describes the session just a little bit. And in the session, we're going to have kind of 30 minutes to really like come in and configure to where you are so that we can really get onto your map and look at one of your most persistent patterns. One of the things that in relationship has come over and over again, that thing that has rutted you. And in that call, we'll spend some time really looking at that from multiple perspectives that you couldn't necessarily see yourself because you're only coming from your perspective. But having people like Bryan and I to kind of organize around you, to take a look at it from a different perspective and give you some of the technologies that we've hard won both in our relationship and in studying every relationship expert and in doing this work with so many couples and in living a really evolutionary relationship. We'll give you some of that technology to begin the process of unwinding that wound in that 30-minute session. And then we'll talk to you about our retreat to see if you want to come and join us. It's a private retreat. It's got limited spots, but it's going to be a game changer. More than anything we can do in a 30-minute session, we're going to dive very deeply in with 30 extraordinary people that are going to be there along with Annie Lalla. And we'll answer your questions about maybe joining us in that retreat at this call. So on the right-hand side of your screen, if you hit schedule a call, you'll get 30 minutes with me, and we'll talk both about a pattern that will start to unwind and rewrite for you, and also about joining us May 5th through 8th for our Evolving Love Retreat.
So it's May 5th through 8th, and where is it?
It's at South Lake Tahoe at a mansion on 7 acres, 12,000 square feet, sleeps 30 people. It's stunning. We have a gourmet organic chef making us meals. Okay. You have private rooms, a few shared rooms. So if you sign up early to this retreat, you get a private room. And we still have a few of those left. So this retreat is going to be an epically beautiful experience and a rare one. We've never done this before, and we don't have it scheduled to do again. So this is an opportunity to mainline, 3, maybe even 4 of the most evolved love teachers that I have ever met. I never had the pleasure of having helped me as Annie has in our relationship many, many, many times.
And guys, whoever's listening, even if you're not sure about the retreat or you're not sure if you're able to make that happen, you need to take this 30-minute call with Bryan and Jennifer just to get their brains looking at your heart and where you're stuck. It is priceless. Yeah. Don't miss that opportunity. And, you can figure out whether the retreat's right for you or not. But it's hard for me to get them on the phone for 30 minutes. They're so busy. So you just need to make sure and follow up on that opportunity. It's
a rare one. It's a rare one that we've opened it up.
And I just wanted to add, because I'm coming to the retreat. I'm coming not just to support and teach. I want to learn from you guys. And so I just want to tell all my people who are listening, anyone who joins this retreat is just going to get a bonus from me. It's my 6-week program. It was my most popular program. It's called How to Get More Love and Better Sex. It was $297 originally. I'm just going to give it to you free. It's an online program. And it basically teaches you how to ask for your needs and wants and actually get them met in relationship. And I just want to throw that in. So if the retreat sounds interesting to you and you do sign up, you're going to get that from me as well.
Oh, what a generous offer. Thank you, Annie. And we would love to see you live and in person so that we can get our hearts and minds around you to help you through this process. We're going to create a whole evolutionary guide to how to do monogamous relationships. We're going to do an evolutionary guide to how to do open relationships there. We're going to give you 7 different practices and conversations to have. We're going to work with many of you in front of the room to go through a process on how to handle trigger and conflict that will completely transcend and unwind any of the conflicted patterns that you've had in your life. We've got this retreat. We've got it for singles that are wanting to prepare themselves for an evolutionary relationship. It's for couples that are wanting to really upgrade how they're doing it and incorporate some of these practices in real time. And so we would love to have
Jennifer,
you. Yeah.
Can you guys, do you have some space time now if people have questions just about whether the retreat or just their own love life? I just want, your brilliance is here online. If anybody has questions, now's the time to raise your hand and get some super genius people in your world.
Absolutely. So let's take some questions now, either about anything we covered about your love life. You'll have all 3 of us looking at it. You can also ask us about the retreat if you have any questions. You can do that by raising your hand. There should be like a little hand sign on your right-hand side. Click that. And if you would prefer to do it via chat, we could do it via chat. Catherine asked the question, is it only for couples? And no, we have this for singles. There are several spots. There are 12 spots of the 30 for singles and 18 spots for couples. I often will say that I wish I could get my hands on people before they start their relationship, because then we don't have to unwind all the mistakes that most people do when they begin their relationship. So if we can get you right at the beginning, the only requirement is that you're single and that you're wanting love in your life. If you are single and you want it to stay that way, we don't need to mess with it. We can allow you to have that single life.
Call me, because I specialize in cynics.
And Annie specializes in the cynics, so call Annie. But if you're looking for love and wanting to prepare yourself for a relationship as a single person, this is an extraordinary way to get it right from the beginning. So you have these kinds of processes for you. Let me see. Let
me take Marnie. So Marnie asks whether we believe that is it important to already be living a great version of yourself so that you magnetize the level of partnership. Or, if you're single, can you attract them now and up level together? Mm-hmm. So I would say you absolutely can attract them now and up level together. And you will always attract a partner who is a match for your romantic self-esteem. So that's going to be so. And I always say that direction is more important than position. Meaning, if you're headed towards expanding, learning, growing, becoming a greater person, being happy, if you are making momentum in that direction, that's actually more important than if you've been happy for years but you're not really self-examined. So I would say get in directionally where you want to go, but then don't wait and don't waste time.
Yeah, and I would just add, do whatever it takes to fall in love with your life as a single. Just get it done. Find out what excites you, expands you, enlivens you, and fall more in love with your life. Because especially as a woman, a man falls in love with the woman who helps him fall more in love with his life. So if you're not in love with your life, who's going to be as interested? So people like someone who's leaving the state, like a train's leaving the station. No one wants a train that's been sitting around, has cobwebs. So get into your life. That's what I would add.
Yeah. I love that. I double underline that. Being in your life. And regardless, you're going to be attracting someone who's at a similar level of consciousness, no matter where you're at. And so don't worry about not being far enough along. You'll attract the partner that's the right match. You won't even be attracted to one another if you weren't, right?
And so going in the direction.
Yeah.
So get in a direction.
Yeah. So here's another question. What do you do if you found the one that you described on this call, yet they are not as conscious and run away for the reasons you mentioned that people do? What do you do if they're running away, but they feel like they're the one for you?
Well, the first thing I would do is look in the mirror at the ways that you're running away yourself, at the ways that you possibly are afraid. Because if you are certain they're the one and they're running away, you have this experience of being left, there is a hidden symmetry. There is a reciprocal something in you which is being responded to. Because when I'm ready for a particular kind of relationship and the other person isn't and they're running away, my experience of that is, oh, that wasn't for me. Because if they're running away, that means they're actually not up for what I have in mind. And there's no feeling of loss around that. If you're having that feeling of loss, then there's probably some shadow element in you, areas where you've abandoned yourself that are worth looking at.
Or where places where you're chasing them away.
Yeah, you might be chasing them. Yeah. Anytime there's running, there's usually chasing.
Yeah.
Because those things can't occur at the same time, right? If they're running and you're standing still, then they would just move away from you. So look at how you guys are creating that dynamic to begin with is how I would think.
Yeah, and how could you make that growth that you're wanting them, or that level of personal development, how can you make it so inspiring that they want to move towards it, because their access to their own magnificence comes in through that, and then you're available to do that with them. It's a seduction.
There's another question from an Adele. And Adele's asking, I'm curious to determine how my partner sees me. We've only been dating a few months and we have a deep visceral connection, but honestly, he's not a huge talker and also has not expressed clearly any complaints for me thus far, although I've just started to feel this shift in the past week. So to Adele, even if they're not a talker, it can be a beautiful and romantic conversation. So you might take him out on a date and say, look, there's something I want to do tonight for fun during our dinner, which is, I just want to explore, like, what do you see for me? What's possible for me? And as long as you're not evaluating their answer, like, is it good enough right there in the moment, but you're really just asking, hey, like, how does that land for you? If you see me as, being a leader, what does that even mean to you? What's kind of a leader? How would that show up? What in me makes you see that? Where am I that way already? Where do I need to grow in order to be that? And just keep asking with curiosity, but I would ask directly, and add that answer, that direct answer, to your own observations about how they behave.
And remember, 70% of communication is nonverbal. So listen to the ways he's speaking and see if you can honor and receive those.
And I love this direct conversation. Like, when Bryan and I got together, we just deliberately had that conversation. Like, what is one of our favorite conversations to have in a relationship that creates it as an evolutionary one, not just an ordinary one, is what's the very context of our relationship? Why are we in this relationship? What's the reason? What's this third pole that we're more committed to even than each other, or at least equally committed to, that creates that stabilization that has us evolve? You can just directly ask, why are you in a relationship? What are you hoping? What are you wanting to get out of being in this relationship? And here's what I see as is the purpose of our relationship. And then you start to share what your future vision is of him, and you ask him, what future vision of me do you see? This direct conversation, you don't need to beat around the bush. You can just have it very directly. And to me, this conversation, when we assign this to couples, they come back having a completely different relationship to how they love one another and how they relate. It goes from a relationship of kind of butting heads or moving away from each other to one where they're on each other's team to evolve. So I would just have that conversation really directly, ask them the context of their relationship and what is the future vision they see, and what is the future vision you see for them.
I want to answer Samia. Samia, I don't know if I'm saying it right. So Samia's question is, someone I know has everything she wanted. The caring husband, great sex, great home, kids, etc., etc. Yet she feels unable to remain married because she feels it's too restricting. She also has past hurts of things that she couldn't forgive him for in the past, it seems like. What would I say to her to save her marriage? Well, it sounds like maybe you want to save her marriage more than she does. I'm not sure, but let's assume she wants to save her marriage. The first thing I would say, from this very little information, is people who feel too restricted by their relationships often are restricting themselves preemptively because they fear their partner's reaction, and so then they leave. And what I would say is, go ahead and be the version of you that you're afraid your partner can't accept, and just see whether they accept them or not. Let your partner decide to leave rather than you. I know it can feel more painful to be rejected than to be the one rejecting, but it's totally worth it, because in my observation, most times when you become, you just be the free person that you're sure your partner won't allow you to be. In being that, your partner actually stands up and claps and says, "Oh my God, I've been waiting for this." And you say, "You have? I always thought you'd be afraid of this." So it doesn't happen like that every time, but often enough.
Yeah, we had a couple that we were coaching, and actually one of the people in the couple, the man in this case, had this feeling that he was fairly restricted and wanted more freedom, wanted to be more expressed, and just swore to us up and down that there's no way that she would go for that she just couldn't handle that. And often, if you're feeling restriction and assuming how your partner would react if you were to have more liberation, more expression, more range, freedom is a human need. We all want that. I think we sometimes sell our partners short and assume that they're not actually all on board for our free expression, our liberated version of ourselves. And when you come from love, when you come from a pure desire for that, it's so easy to get behind. So don't, I would want that woman to not sell her partner short, that if she has a vision for how she wants her relationship to be structured that feels less restrictive, have her assume that her husband will be 100% excited and on board and can't wait to help co-create that with her, so long as there's an equivalent caretaking of the level of devotion in the relationship. I often say that you need to have a relationship that has freedom and devotion, not freedom or devotion. And so if you can have both and have an evolutionary partnership that doesn't have those at odds, then he's going to be devotedly on board to her being fully expressed, unrestricted, and free. And so long as you're caretaking that devotional map and really having him not feel like he's giving up feeling connected and loved, having that both and relationship to freedom and devotion, then you'll have him on your team. So that would be what I would say, given that we don't have her here commenting.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to just just do it. So I would start with something really small, like a 5 out of 10. Oh my God, he'll never be okay with this.
Yes, something easy. Yeah.
Start it easy and just do some experiments. Test it and watch with your jaw dropped how okay they are with you asserting what kind of cheese you want instead of the one he wants, and how it's totally fine. And then you can build the muscle of, I'm not going to die, he's not going to flip out. And your esteem rises every time you assert and it gets honored. And then you work that muscle, and then you ask for the big shit after the muscle's been built.
Exactly.
So good.
So we have a couple more questions. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. So Marnie also asks, and this is a vulnerable question, what's your perspective on body image and self-consciousness issues? Can this too be worked out in relationship versus trying for so long to love my body first before opening up to a partner? And, I had many self-hatred issues prior to being with Jennifer, so much so that I wasn't even aware of the body issues that I had, which really, my distrust of my body and dislike with how it looked was really fundamental to many of them. And it's only, in the last couple of years, so 5-6 years into the relationship with Jennifer, that's come up as the most important thing for me to focus on and work with. So this is now the central focus of our developmental energy together, and we're working out together, and we're challenging each other, and really her sense of how to love her body as it is, even as she's taking care of it and making it look and feel even better, has been really important guide for me. So in short, yes, this too can be worked out in relationship. You don't have to do it first. Again, you're going to meet a partner who is your match in terms of your esteem. So if do what you can to love how it is now without it changing, and then do what you can with the partner to change it. We
have, these two questions I feel like should go to Annie. There are versions of the same question. Michelle asks, how can I meet this amazing man for me? And Melissa asks similarly, do you have a suggestion as to how to find someone?
They're going to be at the retreat. I think that's
yeah, probably, yeah.
Come to the retreat. There's going to be some extraordinary people.
Well, yeah, only the highest caliber people will be at a retreat. And think about where the highest caliber people that you would want to be with hang out.
Yeah.
At the bar on the corner, probably not. At a conference about consciousness, maybe.
Yeah.
Start going to the places where the kind of person you dream of would be hanging out. But the second thing I would say, stop looking. I know that sounds so cheesy, stop looking, but start becoming Mr. or Mrs. Right. And just become the version of yourself, like what I said earlier, falling in love with your life, going after those dreams and those projects that give you a steam boost and make you feel like your life's inspiring to yourself. Instead of looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right, which is like this going out, which has kind of got a beggar energy to it, it's really focus on becoming the most extraordinary version of yourself that you can be while you're single, enjoying your life. And by doing that, you raise your esteem, and then the person you're going to attract is going to match that. I don't know. A guy's looking for a woman who's in love with her life, and a woman's looking for a guy who's in love with their life. So whatever's in the way of you getting in love with your life, if you're single, get it sorted, get support, and find out how to. It's very simple. It's literally as simple with my clients as noticing the smell of their shampoo when they take a shower, the clean feeling on their teeth after they brush it. Fall in love with your life in micro moments, because that's how your life is built up. Microsecond by microsecond. It doesn't have to be, I'm the CEO of a company. You notice a shadow on the sidewalk on a Sunday afternoon and it delights you. Fall in love with your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest technology I found for calling in Mr. Right or Mrs. Right.
And just want to take this opportunity to remind you, if the button is still there on your right-hand side of your screen and you haven't clicked it yet to get on the phone with us, you really want to do that. And we can talk about your situation more privately and also more in depth, and talk about what an extraordinary environment this retreat's going to be, and you can determine whether that makes sense for you based on what you want and based on what's next for you.
And I've even included a link so you can see a little bit more about the retreat if you want to have some details. It's in the chat window. So there's a couple of people that asked for it, and so in the background I was doing that. Let's take at least one more question. I know we're at 5:30, but let's take this one from Marielle. I think I'm saying her name right. We both work extensively. This is going to sound familiar, I think, to many of you. Life is not enjoyable. How do we get back to living life with so much responsibility? Life is flat. Her life is feeling flat. So let's talk to her about how to have her life not feel flat and feel back to enjoyable.
Yeah, go ahead, Annie.
I have an idea. Instead of trying to find how to get your life enjoyable, I would have you just look through your day at any moment that is enjoyable. And I'm talking about you get in the front door after work and you've been holding your pee all the way, and you get on the toilet and you have a pee, and that feeling right after you pee, it's enjoyable. Literally, just start noticing the micro pleasures, your first sip of coffee, when your head hits the cold sheet at night, the softness of the bath rug under your mat. Like, there is joy in your life, but they're going unnoticed. So I'd love you to go on a reconnaissance mission and collect microscopic moments of delight and pleasure that are currently there, but going totally unnoticed, and just string them together like a pearl necklace. And you're accumulating those, and will slowly have you unflatten your life. And then as you do that, your energy changes and you start vibrating and attracting more excitement. But you don't try to add excitement into your life. Look for where it's already there, but just not getting noticed. That's how it starts.
All right, Marilee, if I'm saying your name right, I've got a challenge for you.
Yeah.
If you are working too much, so much that you feel burdened by your responsibilities and life is feeling flat, then and you're both doing this, then I promise that both of you are doing that to avoid something. And you're probably trying to avoid some guilt or shame for not being a big enough contribution, or for not being important enough, or not being wealthy enough, or not being worthy enough. There's some not enoughness underneath that your overworkness is designed to compensate for. And it may be the same thing for you and your partner. It may be different things. So I would have a come to Jesus coffee on Sunday morning where you talk with your partner and you really discover for each other what it is that you guys are trying to avoid by working so much, and what scary thing would happen if you suddenly stopped. Like, what are you afraid of happening? And then design a partnership with your partner for how you can co-create, how you can creatively work together to disbelieve that false belief, to face whatever it is that you're running away from, and to realize that you are enough in the places that you are afraid that you're not, and use each other to do that. And then if you do that, then the work will balance out to a more healthy level of contribution, and suddenly life will get very exciting.
Yeah, that questioner should definitely go on a call with Bryan Jennifer, because in 30 minutes they will nail this, give you tactical practices to turn this around. Anyone who's struggling with a really specific issue that they need more time to ask about, get on a call with Bryan and Jennifer and just have their brain dive into it with you. They have a million techniques that didn't get spoken about today.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we couldn't have covered the whole realm of love, intimacy, sex, relationship in one short webinar. So yes, we'd love to. Marilee, I've got a lot of things I would give you as well if you want to sign up for a call around really excavating your own intuitive impulses and your desires, and have you reconnect to that kind of turn on and energy in your body, so that that's guiding what you wear every morning and what you eat and how you act and the ways that you look and the conversations that you have. There's a sultry woman inside you waiting to come out if you are willing to listen to her call and really hear that intuitive voice. And it starts with the simple things like what material do you want on your body, and what color do you want to wear, and what thing do you actually want to eat that day? Is it not the same pattern thing that you eat every day, or is there something that's really calling you? And as you create that relationship to your intuition, as you create the relationship to your desires and interview them, they start to get louder, and they start to get more creative, and they start to get more wild and more fun. And so I just encourage you to begin that interview process with those desires, as big or small as they are, starting with noticing where you're already feeling the pleasure, as Annie said, but even rising above that into actually interviewing your desire directly. So a lot more.
I really would encourage anyone who's struggling, like struggling with a really deep, dark issue that they think they can't talk to anyone about. These are the guys that answer for the stuff that you no therapist has been able to help you with, no self-help book. I'm serious. Their technology, in my opinion, is the cutting edge going in the relationship field, along with me. But I'm saying, we read these relationship books and we're like, yeah, I know that. And it adds to it, but there's some cutting edge new stuff that's going on in this generation. And, get on a call and get that technology into your life.
Yeah.
This was so much fun, Annie.
Shall we wrap it up? We do have.
Yeah.
For any of you that we didn't get to your questions, and I can see there's some of you that we didn't, I just want to acknowledge we didn't get all of you. We're getting a little bit late, and so we're going to wrap up now. But go ahead and sign up for a call with us. There'll be an opportunity to talk to us about not only the question that you've asked, but also the retreat, to see if you want to join us. We've got some spots left. Love to see some of you there with us. So, but let's kind of wrap up.
Yeah, and I just wanted to thank you, Annie, for having us.
For hosting.
Yeah, for asking us to look at particular parts of our relationship and our viewpoints, so that we can share this stuff and hopefully help a lot of people.
Yes, I know you will. And whether it's on a call with you or in the retreat, what I love about the way you guys teach is you actually teach from the fields. Like, you've been down those roads, you've been to the dark corners of relationship, you've mapped it for us, and then you bring your own anecdotes and personal stories and like vulnerabilities, and you don't teach from a didactic I know better. You teach from the trenches. And I love that about you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Annie.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for sticking with us and listening to the end here. I really encourage you to take Annie up on her gift and take us up on our call. And I'm really looking forward to diving in and creating an epic field of possibility with you.
Aho, to true love.
Yeah, to true love. Good night.
Thank you, guys.